This episode brought to you by BRE Promotions. Whether you're just starting out or evolving your brand, BRE Promotions offers you expertly crafted disruptions that'll take you to the next level. BRE Promotions. We make your business shine. Visit us at brepromotions.com to schedule your free consultation.
NoBoBuMe.
Hey, I'm Erik.
And I'm Justin.
And we are the hosts of ParaTruth Radio. You're listening to NoBoBuMe, where we explore deep inside the Goblin Universe with your host, Brian Bowden.
Hello, goblins, ghouls, friends, and families. Welcome to another episode of NoBoBuMe, Nobody But Me, where we explore deep inside the Goblin Universe. We've got a great show coming up for you today. We only have about an hour show, so I know you're used to about the hour and a half that we started doing. You know, we're trying to get all that information out there, but let me tell you, it's going to be jam-packed and filled with a lot of excitement. We got these two great guests coming on. We'll introduce them in a second. Just wanted to remind everybody that the latest issue of Outer Limits magazine is out, number 15, and yours truly, that'd be me, has an article in it. I am the North American Canadian correspondent. It's a fantastic magazine. There are articles from some of the notoriety people in the industry as far as UFOs, paranormal. Well worth the read and well worth a subscription. So check that out. You can get it at Outer Limits Magazine. Just do it online. And speaking of Outer Limits Magazine, our friend over there and the publisher, Chris Evers, is doing his second annual conference. And that's going to be on Saturday, September 1st and 2nd at the Freedom Center in Hull. It's really an inexpensive treat. It's only about 20 pounds or 25 pounds. And for Americans, it's like $30, but you get 2 days worth of fun, excitement, and a lot of information. Colonel Holt is going to be there. He's got a ton of great guests. But we'll post that on our website and our Facebook page. You can find us at InsideTheGoblinUniverse.podbean.com, anywhere podcasts are found, as well as on Facebook, Inside the Goblin Universe, website Inside the Goblin Universe. And if you have questions, concerns, or you want someone on the show, hit us up with the email on the website, but questions at InsideTheGoblinUniverse.com, and we'll do our best to get them on there. Well, it's time to start our broadcast. I don't want to take any more time. So, with that being said, we'd like to welcome two great guys that have an amazing, amazing show on the internet, on Spreaker. They are the co-founders, producers, and hosts of ParaTruth Radio. We have Erik and Justin. Welcome to NoBoBuMe, gentlemen. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I you know, it's been a while when we were doing the old show I was doing. I had Justin on, and Erik, I got to be honest, you weren't available for other reasons,
but
work-related.
I listened, though. I listened to it, though.
And I joked around about Canada. No disrespect to Canada. But it's good to actually see and talk to you for the first time whatsoever.
Likewise.
So it's going to be a fun ride, I think. We all kind of like do the same thing in many ways, but we all add our own style to it. These guys have a great podcast on ParaTruthRadio.com. Just go take a listen to them. They're on Spreaker too. Any place you can find pretty much podcasts, right? I mean, Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Google us.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said. Everybody just Google us. But I mean, their shows are fantastic. They just did a series, I believe it's the Ghost Hunters 101. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I mean, the perspective that we get here and the way you guys come about it is just fantastic. I got to give you credit for that. That's amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, like when you guys started, because the fans may not know where you guys come from and how you interacted and met, which is kind of an interesting story. Can we start with that? Maybe Erik, you first, then Justin, or both? However you want to chime in.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, Justin and I are cousins, so, we met like a long time ago. But, for the longest time, we had a couple of shows over the years, or over the past 10 years, we've had a few different shows, actually. And we were together for a show called Night Stalkers Radio, and we're both just a couple of guys who are interested in the paranormal. That's about it. And let me tell you, it was a horrible show, but we had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of fun doing it.
Well, when you say horrible show, it was more so horrible in the sound quality. I mean, the content was a little horrible because we were a little potty mouth, if you will.
Potty mouth and amateur and everything.
Well, you can't help sometimes the potty mouth. I mean, there's situations.
That's true.
But yeah, how long ago was that roughly?
That we started that one. Yeah.
In November of 2008.
So, I mean, that's really in my opinion, that's really when podcasts started really coming about with other people, not really in an industry. So it was very difficult to actually get, like, where do I get a microphone from, And
absolutely.
The cost was very prohibitive. So I give you guys credit for just kind of jumping in there and saying, hey, let's do a podcast.
Well, not only that, I had never even, I don't know about Eric, but I had never heard the word podcast. And Eric and I we've always loved the paranormal, and even more so into our adulthood. And after I got divorced and moved back to Ohio, we would sit in his backyard around a fire with some beers and just talk about vampires and werewolves. And I'm like, God, there must be like some type of online radio or something that we could do like a show on this or something. And lo and behold, I found Blog Talk Radio, which it is not the greatest, but if you're first starting out, it's pretty easy to work with. And, then we ended up on a network. And then Eric and I were doing it from separate states because I ended up moving away. And we kind of split ways where I went with a show called Parasite Radio, went into a different network.
Right.
Did you continue with Night Stalkers for a little bit after I left?
Yeah, I continued for about 3 months after you left.
Okay.
And then had to change to Forgotten Truth Radio, which I started up after I'd become a born-again Christian in 2009. So it was a little bit after that. But so then Forgotten Truth Radio started. I did that with the network that we were on for about another year. And then there were just some issues, a lot of crap going on with that network, and I ended up leaving. And about a couple months later, I think Justin ended up dropping his show.
Mm-hmm.
And then roughly about another year or so later, Justin calls me up, from North Dakota, and he's like, hey, how you feeling about doing another show together? And I was like, well, I'm pretty bored, so why not? So ParaTruth Radio was born, which is actually
4 years later, actually.
4 years later, yeah.
That's but it's what I love about this, and what people don't know, but now they do know, is that you get a really great perspective on this, because not only are you guys interested and have been interested in it, but Eric, you went the born again route, and now you're bringing a totally different perspective on it from that side of the realm.
Yep.
And it's more than just spirituality. So I think what works really great is the flavor that people are getting. They're getting both sides of it. You've lived both sides of it, Eric, and so have you, Justin. But it's like you can bring in a different perspective, and it may freak people out because some people are not into the whole religious aspect. I am actually a very spiritual and religious person myself, so I get it, and I just think it makes for fantastic shows.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, when I first started. Now again, I was Roman Catholic when I was a kid, grew up Roman Catholic, did all that stuff. But I really, as far as I'm concerned, wasn't a Christian. I wasn't a true, Bible-believing Christian, didn't really believe in Jesus quite like I do now. So I did have the real-world, secular, I guess, view of the paranormal, and people don't really realize that nowadays. They hear me speak on the Christian side of it, this born-again Christian side, and they think that's all I know. But it's like, no, for literally about 17 years, I know all the secular side. I've dabbled in the occult. We've done summonings, things like that. I was there. I've done that. And then there's this transition, and that's what I think makes my view a little bit stronger, because I've had that transition from one side to the other. There's like the dark to the light type of thing. Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's I'll tell you, when I first started, I wasn't the most easygoing with my faith in the beginning. I'm honest, about that. But when I was on my own, it gave me a chance to consider everything that I was saying originally and start to talk to people who claim to be Wiccan, and pagans, and practice witchcraft, and built a relationship with those people. And I'll tell you, when I quit Forgotten Truth Radio and walked away, one of the greatest things I ever heard was actually from this woman named Kat, not the cat that we all know and love now, but a different cat. She was Wiccan. She practiced witchcraft, and she said, "Hey, before you leave, I just want you to know that you are the first and only Christian that I actually respect and would love to keep talking to you.
Wow.
So thank you for not cutting us down for our current, our faiths and stuff."
Yeah, that's a powerful statement there too.
It is.
And and what's great about that is I love when it's kind of like being in an elevator and people are talking like Spanish or Russian. And they're talking about you or whatever, and they don't think you know anything, and then you come back to them with a full blown blah, 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 and they just have this look in their face like of horror. It's like, oh crap. So what's good about that is you did have that other side of you, and now you have this side of you, and it just works, guys. I mean, like, I really am impressed with how you produce, how you put things out there, the shows, and one of my favorites, and I wish you'd do more of them, is the mixology. Truth Radio.
Mixology.
Oh my God! You gotta go.
If him and I were in the same state or in the same room, we would.
Right. Well, like the holidays are coming up, so you can always meet up there and just like videotape that one or two episodes, because I mean, come on.
I'll tell you what, Justin, I'm putting this out here right now. In January, me and him, or him and I guess is the correct way to say it, right? We're going to be in.
You're a podcaster. You don't need proper English.
We're going to be in Las Vegas together in January. So I think doing a mixology on the street or something would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
As you're walking to the next casino, each time, like, we're doing hurricanes right now, but we're going to add a little magic to them. I think it's fun. And what people don't realize is there's so many podcasts out there, they're not fun. They're really boring. And I don't mean any.
Too many people are serious.
Everybody thinks
that's
they're like,
one thing that's
like they're splitting atoms. Like, this is serious. You got to take it. Like, dude, you're talking about a freaking werewolf. Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an imaginary creature, but apparently it's real. Stop being so serious.
I literally just reread. We got a comment from somebody on I think it was one of our Bray Road Beast episodes. We have like 5,000 views on that episode. And I was like, I just want to read this. And there's somebody just blasting us about how we're talking about this creature as if it's not real, and that we have to understand that it is real, and that it's Luciferian, and that the Vatican owns the national parks, and the national park system is Luciferian, and they're trying to hide all this stuff, and they won't tell you when people go missing because it's real, and we need to get our heads out of our butt and do some real research, and that we are just, it's all a Nazi organization. I was like, oh my God, like, how do you even deal with this? Like, I can't.
I think I only skim that comment because I did not get all that detail out of it.
It's the same thing about Freemasons, and it's always the comment, "Oh, you're the Illuminati." I'm like, no,
right.
No, I checked my bank account. I'm telling you, I'm not the Illuminati.
Which is the boogeyman now.
Right.
Everybody jumps to the Illuminati.
And the problem is that this is a group of men that get together, pretty much trying to raise money for charity. They're the largest organization to give away almost $6 million a day through their charities. Danny Thomas and some of the other cancer organizations. They're not the Illuminati. They're not the problem. The Illuminati is a scapegoat, just like everything else is. But I don't like when people do what they did, and when they said it's Luciferian or every ghost is demonic. It's demonic, right. Dude. I tell people straight up, right off the bat. I said, if it's demonic, they ain't gonna play with you. They're not playing with you whatsoever. They don't have to play stupid games with you. They'll do whatever they want and however they want. What you have is just pretty much a pissed off spirit. Be it you in their house, or if you weren't a nice person in the real world, guess what? You're not going to be a nice person in the afterworld, especially when you realize you're not going up above just so yet. So, speaking of which, do you guys do investigations? Have you done investigations together?
We haven't done an investigation in a long time.
Yeah.
We used to, though. We had a paranormal investigative group. We had about 6, I think, people working with us investigating, something like that.
Well, we started out with 4. Myself, and 2 others. Mm-hmm. Then we added one guy and lost one guy. So it was about
when you lost the
4
guy,
or
was it a
5.
sacrifice type of loss, or was the guy just like, no, I'm joking, guys.
No, this was after Eric was saved, so we couldn't sacrifice anymore. But
you mean no more bloodlettings? Come on, I'm out of here.
He was new. Like, he only came on a couple of investigations with us, and he really wasn't sure if he was going to be able to do it. And his friend and him started together with us. So we told him straight out, if you cannot be here for investigations, then we're okay with you leaving if that's what you need to do. But you need to tell us, because if we're going to say we have an investigation, we're counting on you to be there. We need you to be there, or we're going to have to let you go anyways. So, and then we ended up with a guy that we ended up not really jiving with and screwed up some evidence for us in the long run. So,
yeah, it's what's really difficult is getting trustworthy people to be on an investigation with. The first group that I've ever been part of this way was Bronxville Paranormal Society. I've done a lot of investigations by myself, on my own, and it's for my own curiosity. I just had questions since I'm 6 years old. I even asked, what is God? Is God an angel? Is it an alien? Is it whatever? Long before Ancient Aliens came out, and the use of hair gel for these these people. But it is tough to get people that are trustworthy, because when you go into the field or the situation and things happen, you have to know that someone's going to get your back, and vice versa. That's just my take on it. But when you have done some things, have you do you use protection of any kind before you go into the field, and then also when you come out, do you protect yourselves, even with a radio show? Because you are talking about things that are pretty scary, and you don't know what's going to happen from that.
Yeah, for sure.
I always slip on a full body condom before
I knew somebody was going to make that joke. It wasn't going to be me, that's for sure. So I was like,
I guess you have an open account at Spencer's. That's crazy.
Yeah. For me, not so much doing the radio show, but when we were doing investigations, we would always say a prayer before we were going into the investigations. We had the typical Saint Benedict medallions, and before Eric and I had came back to Christianity, we were doing the salt. I learned the white light meditation, and I was honestly shocked when Eric told me that he still does the white light meditation, but he comes from the perspective of it's the white light of God instead of the new agey way that you're supposed to do it. So it was interesting to hear him say that. But yeah, when we were doing investigations, I guess it depends on what we're doing on the show, because Eric has done a prayer prior to a show, depending on what we're talking about.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you hit some pretty heavy subjects. If you really go to your site, I mean, especially if you're talking about voodoo and talking to spirits, and then you get into demons, or tell me your like one episode's tell me your demon, tell me your name, demon, or whatever. I mean, not for nothing. I'm a strong believer in not messing around with things that are well above your pay grade. We have cases where people are saying it's demonic or this or that, and we refer them to Father Bob. I don't know if you're aware of him, Warriors of St. Michael.
Okay.
He's been on plenty of shows, and their mission is really to task and get rid of demons. I mean, I don't know if they're ordained by the church or authorized by them, but that's above my pay grade. I lost my wings when I came down here, so I don't have the full juice that I need to play with that. And so that's why I was just asking about the protection, because sometimes when you start mentioning things, and I don't think it's invoking really, weird, crazy stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, like on our show, Justin and I have mentioned multiple times that just talking about something is opening a spiritual door. And so you got to be careful of what doors you're opening when you're talking about this stuff. And so when you talk about demons or voodoo, which in my opinion is connected to demons in some way, especially when you go down to New Orleans and New Orleans voodoo and you see the connection between Christianity and the demonic entities that they use to summon the Loa and all them. You got to be careful with those doors because, there have been times where we've discussed something, even just in person, and we start hearing those knocks on the door or something, creeps into the bedroom at night. You start seeing those shadow masses and whatnot. So prayer for me is one of the big ones. And I actually, especially, like, maybe not necessarily always talking about a certain entity, but if I'm going to be, because I'm going to talk a lot about the Bible,
right,
in that particular thing, I'll pray for, like, the right words to say, because I don't want to stumble over whatever it is I'm saying about scripture, because I don't want people coming back and saying, oh, look, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about his own faith. So I'll pray about that and, like, God, give me the right words to say, help me to be humble and to listen and all that before speaking. But yeah, when it comes to, like, the demons and stuff too, you got to protect yourself. You got to be careful, and people don't believe it. Like, not everyone believes, like, oh, a demon's going to haunt me. But the thing about demons is they're not all in your face, not all the time. They're in the background whispering over your shoulder because they don't want you to know that they're the ones persuading you to do stuff. Instead, they want you to think that you're making these decisions on your own so that you can never trace it back to them. So, you've got to protect yourself.
Yeah, people protect themselves with crosses and stars and what have you these days. But I think the problem we have, and it's seen evidently, I think, in society globally, is that we've lost our faith, and we've lost this concept of there is a higher power. I don't want to get totally religious on this program, but I do believe there is a higher power, and you know what? That power deserves respect. And I think because of that loss of faith, we become like Sodom and Gomorrah, and it's just like the Wild West of craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, even though Erik has the strict Christian view and I have a more of a world view on the paranormal, I do believe, I believe in the Bible. I believe in Jesus Christ. The only difference that where Erik and I come into play is I do believe that there are other things that can explain stuff. And, for the most part, him and I always come to agreement on a lot of things. The few things that we do come into disagreement with are things like, for example, mediumship. And I think that's one of the only biggest things him and I disagree on. He believes that spirits or ghosts are demons masquerading as human spirits, where I think opposite, but we don't sit there and argue about stuff. The only thing that we might sit and argue, and I wouldn't even call it argue, just a heated discussion, is the mediumship stuff, because I do consider myself a sensitive to the
right, and I understand that, and I understand that view that Erik you have on that, because if you just read the scriptures verbatim, don't know false idols, don't believe in anything but me, the Lord, and so on and so forth. But there's also, if you want to go to the Older Testament, we have people out there or individuals that are gifted. In Judaism alone, there are these different tribes of Judaism that come together to make the entire Jewish population. Some of them were cantors, some of them were priests, some of them strictly with communicating to God or through, have God, the transistors. So I think you have to have some kind of abilities. I've been told that I have some abilities. I've had a feeling all my life about that. It wasn't until my first investigation with BPS that our psychic actually explained what I had. It blew her off the floor. The way she operates is, Al from the group went around and mentioned everybody's name. No, they're okay. That person's okay, because we have people checked out before we go. We don't want somebody who's frail to be in a situation that would cause them harm or cause us harm. And basically how she gets it is, when she mentioned one other person, she gets a tingle. It's like a little electricity, and they say, oh, they're very open, and they have this possibility they can be more sensitive. And then apparently Al turned to me and goes, and then she got to you, and she flew off her chair. I kind of played around with it, but I know it's a Pandora's box, and I don't want to open it up wide and not be able to handle it. But I think when you use your sixth sense that I think we all have, that connection that connects us from the temple internally to the temple above, and to God spiritually, you're good. You get these. Some people can see things. Some people can hold things in their hands. And they just know everything about you. It gets a little bit weird and scary, but I can see both sides of the spectrum with this.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like in regards to Judea in the Old Testament, though, those who are following God, like their gifts were ordained by God for God. So everything they did was under God's power, in the light of God, in God's eyes. And so you also see in the Old Testament and in the New Testament that God says not to turn to mediums or spiritists. And that's simply not necessarily because they're being persuaded by, we'll just say Satan himself, but their entire process isn't based on the Lord, but based on selfish, righteous gains.
Right.
And that's not to say that these mediums aren't being persuaded by demons in some way, because demons will tell the truth. The devil is the master of lies. He will bend the truth. He did it to Jesus. He spoke scripture to Jesus in Matthew 4. And he spoke scripture 3 times, and each time he just twisted it. It was all the truth, but you have to understand, and I think the best way to really understand is to understand what God wants and what he says in his scriptures, and that's what makes you the difference between a medium and a sensitive who has like the ability of God,
True that. I always had this, growing up fairly religious my entire life, I always had this look on the devil or Lucifer, the light bearer. And basically that's one of God's children. And that's the first like reality series ever, because he, Lucifer was going to do whatever, God, whatever you want, Dad, I'll do whatever you want. But I'm not worshiping those monkeys down there. I'm not. And that was the first family fight. That was the first, the runaway kid. And I'm not giving him credit, but I can understand the perspective of both ends of the spectrum there. But think of twisting the truth and bending things. And I'm going to get back to your radio show now. You did this whole series on ghost hunting, and talk about bending truths. I personally, I'm getting really tired of hearing the word ghost hunting. I just have this vision, because of a lot of people I've met in this field, being Elmer Fudd out in the woods looking for rabbits. It's not really hunting. I don't think it should be called that. I think that's the TAPS term for the show, Ghost Hunters. Yeah. What's your take on that whole thing? Are you guys more researchers of this phenomenon and investigators, or are you hunting? Are you going for the thrill when you were doing it?
I think we would be considered paranormal investigators. The word ghost hunting, most people know and understand. So that's where we're going with that, because when people hear paranormal investigator, they're like, okay, what do you do?
Yeah, and then it usually follows like, I'm a ghost hunter. I get, so we go back to square one. But it's trying to explain this to people, which in itself is really an arduous task, because in the article I wrote for Outer Limits, I started off by telling people, I've been investigating things that go bump in the night since I've been 6 years old. And when you mention it to people, usually you can hear the Twilight Zone theme being whistled.
Right.
And someone gets out, should we get some tinfoil hats on? They joke. But what really happens in life is that eventually through the party and wherever you are, they're talking about it, someone will come up to you and they'll say, well, there was this one time. And that happens more often than not. And then I just smile. I got that devilish grin on my face. I'm like, yeah, I knew it. There's always this one time, because I think everybody has experiences like that. Yeah. Getting back to the show and reliving that and doing that, I love the fact you did this whole series on how to handle it. Even with the wrap up, the evidence, the locations, when you ghost hunted, did you guys go out just, pardon the expression, willy-nilly and not protect yourself as far as legally and teammates, or did you really do this the right way? You had like a liability clause, and you had the client and understand that, we're not going to sue you, you don't sue us, and that type of stuff.
When we first started, I mean, it was just Justin and I. We're doing investigations in our own house, basically. My house is both. I'm sorry for all that noise upstairs.
It's all right. Trust me. It's those ghosts.
It is a darn ghost.
That's what it sounds like.
The homes that I grew up in, I grew up in one home until I was 18, and then I moved a few cities over, but both homes ended up being haunted. The first one I grew up in was haunted my entire life. Jeez.
There it is! Get out the K2 meter, Erik.
This way you got to protect yourself. They're trying to come through the building.
Godzilla!
Yeah, so, my house was haunted growing up. And then I came here, and this house ended up being haunted. And so we did our investigation. We did a couple investigations here, some at his house, and we didn't have to worry about all that, financial stuff. But once we actually got into building a team and getting clients, we did some a couple of residents or a residents, and then we did a couple of businesses. And we had the contracts. We had people sign off on what exactly was happening, when they would receive evidence, what the whole plan was. We'd all be on the same page. We'd even have like a disclaimer and a questionnaire. We'd always ask them to tell us what type of drugs they're on, or if they'd be willing to tell us that, what type of family they've grown up in, all these different little intricate details to help us as investigators better understand the situation by better understanding the client themselves. I think that's the best way to do it. We did all that. Of course, our guys, everyone we had on our team was under contract. They all read a thing. We sat down together, answered questions for them, and they signed their lives away basically to us, which felt kind of good. but yeah, so we did. We made sure that we were protected at all costs, because you never know. Like, even for our own sake, walking through some of these places, it's dark. We can trip, we can trip and hurt ourselves, and we want to make sure that the company or whoever we're working for isn't going to be held liable, because we want to show like a trust there. Like, hey, as long as you guys clean this up, we're going to do a walkthrough before we shut the lights off. And then if there's anything that's out of array, like, hey, we need you to move this or do that before we actually begin this investigation. So
yeah. Did you always do your investigations with the lights out? Because I see that's the general theme with everybody. Oh, shut the lights off. Look, unplug everything.
Yeah. We didn't always do them with lights out, because we would sometimes do outdoor investigations during the day. And I think the reason that everybody does the lights out type of thing is they got this whole idea of the light spectrum. You can only see things in night vision or through infrared or ultraviolet. And maybe it's true. I don't think there's enough evidence to necessarily support that. But I think that's the main reason why people go lights out. They just want to see what their cameras on these broad spectrums can pick up.
They're basing it on the TV shows, though, too, because all of them are like lights out or do it in the dark or whatever.
Yeah, the reason why I say that is my lodge that I'm part of, we didn't have to have lights out. The thing walked right past the door frame. During the day, I saw the hand come out. Whatever is spiritually haunting our lodge. When we're going to be doing an investigation very, very soon, a day and night investigation. I don't think you need to have lights out. I don't think lights out does anything to help you out. I understand the whole spectrum thing, but you know what? If you have a camera, you have a camera. Ghosts don't like wait, just wait a few more minutes. He's going to shut that last light off. He had to go. Grab his light. I don't think it works that way. But I guess it's whatever you feel more comfortable with. The problem I have with lights out is exactly the liability problem. You have somebody that stumbles or trips. You don't need that kind of problem. And I don't think ghosts or spirits are situated in one versus the other. I mean, if you want to take the Holy of Holies, Jesus is, come back in the dark and the light, I mean, he is just there. I've seen spirits come to me in dreams, which is really bizarre when you have an experience like that, especially when, you meet your grandfather who's been dead since you're 16. And then you confirm it with him, Grandpa, you're dead. He goes, yeah, I know that, honey. Which, and he's coming back to work because he's worried about his daughter, which is my mother, which that definitely happened. But I was just wondering on that end of the spectrum, like, how you play it. Do you buy into any of the special equipment, or, do you think one thing works better than the others, like full spectrum versus infrared or regular cameras?
I think Eric and I both agreed that, I mean, first and foremost, five senses, and this was something that Eric actually brought up during the Ghost Hunting 101. Your five senses are your best tools. And then going like super basic, recorder, just a regular picture camera is great. Even if you still have one that does film. And that's it. I mean, the EMF meters are great, and you can get them for relatively cheap. But I think sticking simple is just as good. Yeah, I think Eric and I would have loved to have a full spectrum camera back in the day.
Oh yeah,
but we had the basic tools, and we used them to the best of our ability.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think is a wonderful treat that we definitely use on investigations a lot is the FLIR camera, but we use it on the phones. We have the phone FLIR.
Oh, okay.
Most of these places and groups, and I find they don't have the money or the wherewithal to really get better equipment. I mean, there's some FLIR equipment that is incredible, but you're going to be spending $10,000, and it's full spectrum cameras and what have you. So I just find that's a great piece of equipment. I do think that having a recorder going, we made a big mistake on one of our first investigations. We didn't have the recorders going, and actually we're having issues with the recorders, which we don't know if it was technical or spiritual or what. But after that investigation, I made a rule, because I'm the tech guy and I'm the information officer for the group. I'm like, one of us, if not both of us, have to have a camera, a recorder running 24/7, because we missed these really great whoops and some other stuff that we could have been reviewing, and it's just very frustrating. Oh God, I wish one of the cameras had it. Either that, or you guys like myself, we need to get our own TV series, so at least we get some of the really good equipment. We get to use like, what'd you guys bring? Did you bring that FLIR camera you had the last time?
Exactly.
One of my friends I grew up with is actually Evan B. Stone, and he's the main camera guy for Josh Gates's programs. And I'm going to get him on. Yeah, He's the one that when they were Hobochu Forest, he got lifted in the air, and he got flown in the air. So I contacted him. I'm like, can you want to come on the program? And he said, yeah, anytime you want, because I want to ask him about that, because I think when he started this whole thing, he didn't believe in any of it. And I just want to see his take on it, what he thinks is, besides finding out what he's doing now, besides the other programs, because he's a movie guy. I just, I want the perspective. I love the perspective of different perspectives, because I think it aids to all of our research. When your program, what I like about their program, and please check it out, ParaTruthRadio.com, Google them. You guys have been doing like these series, which are fantastic. What's the next series coming up on the show? Do you have you figured it out yet? Like, are we doing a specific subject, a specific genre?
Well, we just dropped the first episode of The World's Most Haunted, and that's going for 6 episodes. And then after that, Eric, go ahead, share with them what we are planning on doing for season or the next series.
Yeah, so we're going to move into ghost stories, basically, and what we're going to do is have fans and just people who listen come on and talk with us about their own ghost stories and share them, and kind of do small interviews with people who have experienced real-life ghosts in their own homes, instead of this, hey, look, this is what's happening halfway across the world, but there's no real evidence to prove it, So.
Yeah, and this is what I love about the way you guys operate and your program, is it's very informative, it's very entertaining. You get a couple different perspectives, but it's always like, you planned it out. It's a series. And the fact that you're doing what I've always wanted to do and what we tried to do in the original broadcast way back when, that's no longer in existence, you're bringing real life people on a program, not these so-called para-experts. And I'm putting that in quotes, air quotes right now. Everybody's a para-expert. I'm a UFO expert. I'm sorry, people, but there are no experts in this field. It's basically hypothesis, and unless you can duplicate your experiments and they come true every time you're doing it, it's just hypothesis. No one's an expert, but everybody has experiences. It's wonderful that you guys are letting people to share those experiences. I look forward to the ghost stories. Are you gonna have anybody famous, like tell us some ghost water, like dark water, come on, or someone like that's famous for retelling these stories and truths?
We had Jim Harold on, so I think we're trying to stick with more so the people who are experiencing it over somebody who's heard multiple stories. I mean, Dark Waters would be great to get on, but I feel, and unfortunately, even Dark Waters is one of those people that is super saturated in this particular moment. So he's one of those para celebrities, if you will. So I think that we're planning on just either doing a couple ourselves or getting people that have had these experiences and gotten in contact with us to concentrate on that aspect of it.
That's really cool. It sounds like that ghost is bowling up there.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's some salt up there and just get
seriously, get the kosher salt out and just throw it at people. It's really funny that you said that. I always tell people, you have to have kosher salt, and they look at me like, why? And I'm like, it's the purest form of salt. That's why you have to have. It's whatever. And I try to explain it to them. I like the fact that the para celebrity is not really being so much included, and it's no disrespect to anybody. I think Dark Waters does perfectly what he does. I've invited him on the program, and I've gotten a very nice, I cordially, no thank you, and it's fine. You got to pick and choose where you want to go and what shows you want to go on. I'm one of those people out there. There's too many people looking to hurt people. And take them to task for everything, and I don't want to take anybody to task. I always have opened a forum for anybody that wants to come on, anybody who wants to promote themselves, their stuff, and as long as it's an interesting topic and interesting people. Again, I'm looking forward to those ghost stories. After ghost stories, are you guys going to do like more videos when you get a chance? Because you both can do video work and then just kind of splice it together. Mm-hmm. Just an idea.
We've concentrated on the sound quality part of it, so we've gone away from the video. If him and I are together, I think we'll concentrate on some video stuff. But in this industry, I think that people are trying to do both, and really you should concentrate on one or the other. Like, there are some great, what you would call podcasters on YouTube that do video, and then there's some great ones that do just audio, and then there's some that do both and do great. But I think that you go with your strengths, and for us in particular, the video part has kind of been a struggle, if you will.
It's mostly due to equipment more than anything. Yep. It's tough to put the voices, in the video together when they have to be filmed separately, because our webcams, well, mostly Justin's webcam isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
I don't take it the wrong way. I've noticed it, and I've tried using third party. I think I saw the ghost right behind you, Eric.
No,
it's your ghost. No, it's the truth. The problem with anything really worth its salt is the fact that you have to have the right equipment. And it's expensive to get the right equipment. I mean, I have a Nikon 900 that I was able to snag on eBay at a very low rate, but to buy it outright, I just don't have the money right off the bat to spend it on. And then, I have all the resources. I have all the Adobe suite and everything, and I can put a lot of stuff together. But like this show today, we will be using the YouTube video because I do have you guys on video, if it's all right with you, and we're going to throw it up there.
That's fine.
I'm personally not on video because I'm broadcasting from an alternative studio, and unfortunately I don't have my green screen up, and then you'd see my microwave, because I've been booted this way. It's called marriage, people. Get used to it.
That's okay. Eric's in his basement. I'm in a I guess you could call closet that was built for me for a studio. So
Yeah, and I'm always reminded of Jim Mallard. Always talking about like they had a closet there, and he used to go into the closet and do his thing, and then come out, and it's just tough. And combining that with the equipment you really need to get going to have a proper, video. I mean, you really need to have a sound person there. You need to have like a high-end Sony camera for the most part. I mean, there are other high-end cameras, but you want something that's going to be able to shoot at night perfectly, as well as day, as well as twilight. And you're talking like that's a real production. So, the only videos that we've ever put out on our YouTube channel, which is Inside the Goblin Universe on YouTube, is we'll do the Skype videos. I mean, Skype's been a little tricky lately. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Ever since Microsoft took over, they're putting their Microsoft Touch on it, which they should have just left the damn thing alone. But yeah, no, I was just wondering if you guys are, because it's you guys have a great interaction with people, and sometimes it works out really well. The video end of it.
Yeah, and I think other than the equipment, the only I'm sorry, I can't speak now. The only real difficult thing beside that is the fact that him and I are in two different states, and I think if we were together in the same room, it'd be a whole lot easier to piece things together. And time's the other thing. He works. This is his 40 hours a week plus, actually. I never know when I'm going to be around.
Right.
I'm freelance. I work for HGTV and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be around to do stuff. So it's tough to do,
Yeah, no, I know that. And the fact you worked for HGTV, is there any way you can get, like, flipping this satanic house?
Oh my gosh, I should totally see if I can do that. I should talk
see
to
if
my
you can
director.
do that. Just let me get some kind of writing credit or something. Flip this satanic house. Like our client is Zach Pickens. He's looking to buy this 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom home that is apparently haunted by demons. That would be pretty good. That would be a good HGTV program. Buy your own haunted island. Whatever. Sorry, HGTV. But, if you want guys to do a show for you, there's 3 right here. We have no problem with it. It's just fun stuff. I mean, I do appreciate, before we lose time and whatever, we're getting close to that magic moment. And what's great about doing your own podcast, thank you, Jim Mallard, is the fact that I can go as long as I want, people. So it's only up to the guest. And I like this because you're able to contact people at certain points, like especially overseas. I don't know if you've contacted anybody overseas, but let me tell you something. When it's 9 o'clock here and you're asking them to stay to 4 o'clock in the morning, that's a tough call. Some people are great that way. But is there an ultimate destination that you guys want to visit and semi-investigate, or just to experience whatever is supposed to be there? Ooh, that's
a darn good question.
Well, I mean, like I'll throw some out. Would you go to Easter Island?
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely, of course.
Okay. What about Machu Picchu?
Machu Picchu is on my bucket list.
How about and I know if you can go there safely and travel safely, would you go to Egypt?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
And Iran and Iraq?
Pass.
Pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Wow, I'm getting this vision of a movie about lip syncing. Hard pass. Are you guys going to come out with your own sandals? No, only joking. That's a little reference to this hard pass that he said on another movie. Well, the real reason why I said Iraq and Iran is strictly because if you go back in history to where things supposedly started, especially language and Samaria, and that's why I was thinking it would be interesting.
For sure. There's a lot of interesting stuff there that I think would be great to check out.
Right.
But, like considering the times and all that.
I'm talking about a bubble around you. Trust me, I'd like to go to
if there's
these
a
places
bubble,
too.
absolutely.
But
I can't go there. If I'm a Christian, so I can't go there and be like, hey, I'm a Christian.
Yeah, no,
I'll
no.
be
Yeah,
You better
down
be
with a machete or something. So I'm
Superman.
just gonna be
That's a
like,
Christian.
yeah.
could have
Um,
like a cross made out of like machetes. You know, it's like. How about like the UK and like some of the the UK countryside as well as Scotland, some of those castles out there.
Scotland, yeah, Scotland, Ireland. Well, I'd love to go check out some of the Irish, folklore, get into some of that.
The
Head over to
Fey folk.
Romania.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, like speaking of which, besides ghosts and spirits and whatever, do you ever investigate any like the cryptids? Like apparently, there's a picture right now of Loch Ness that someone took. That's pretty damn good picture. Do you would you investigate them and do you believe in them?
Loch Ness is one that I think we both kind of believe in. I think
Yeah.
the evidence isn't very strong, but because the world's oceans and lakes are so vast and deep, there's a good chance that something exists. And something like Champ, you know, you figure, well, Champ and Nessie,
Yeah.
but so that's New York. It's Champ, Nessie's over there in Ireland. And then here in Ohio, we have what's known as the Lake Erie monster, which again
Right.
is a very similar creature. So those things are coming up more and more. And I don't know if it's legit, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of water to cover to figure it out. So.
Oh, 100%. You'd have to have like a super sub to get down there into the
Yeah.
depths of things. I was reminded that a bunch of years back, I went up to Canada and I went up to the northeastern part, St. Andrews, and we were traveling over to St. John's, I believe it was, because there's absolutely nothing to do in any of those towns. Um, it's lovely if you want to sit on the beach for a little bit, but that's it's not. It's too slow and it's too quiet. And I noticed as we're going over there, there's a lake there. I forgot the name of the lake, but there's I think it's like Ogopogo or something like that.
Pogo, yep.
So I'm with my wife and my bull terrier, and we pull up to this lake and we pull up the shore and we're sitting there, and I shut the car off and she's like, "What the hell are we doing here?" I said, "We're watching." And she's like, "Watching for what?" "We're watching the water. Just watch the water." And then just like after 15, 20 minutes, she goes, "Are you kidding? Why aren't we going somewhere?" I said, "Don't you understand what's in this water? It's Ogopogo. He's in this water." And she looked at me and she goes, "Turn the car on and start driving. Otherwise, we're going to kill you." So it's always interesting trying to, when you're in situations, and I always have, it's really funny. I always have like a K2 meter on me for some reason or some kind of detecting device. And she just looks at me and she gives us this just disapproval. And then now my kids, both daughters, just look at me like, "Dad, really?" And I'm like, oh, you feel like such a heel. But do you ever find yourself in situations where, and whether you're together as family or something's taking place, and you're like, "Yeah, I'll be back," and you start investigating on your own?
Yes, I did that on a film set once.
Oh, awesome!
We were filming this scene. It was a hospital scene at it was actually a college for nursing college, but I was told that there was this supposed haunting over on the far side of the college, which was more or less restricted to us. And I thought, well, most are mostly restricted to most people. I'm just gonna sneak on over there, and. So yeah, I told one of the guys I was working with, I was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna take a quick little break if you can handle it real quick." So I went. I had my camera ready. I had my voice set up, my digital voice recorder set up, and I just went out there. I was asking questions, seeing what I can find, and of course, I didn't find anything, unfortunately. But I'm not against like just dropping everything to go seek some truth,
Well, but that's what makes you guys real investigators versus the people that do it as a hobby. Like they do it. This is well, I investigate ghosts. Well, that's really good. I practice exorcism, so hey, we got that going. Yeah, I mean, there was one time, actually, Al, our leader, the founder of Bronx Paranormal, his daughter was getting married, and he goes, "Whatever you do, don't bring anything to the wedding," and and as anybody can tell you that I don't really listen. I mean, I do listen, but I don't. So he's walking her down, and it's a beautiful, beautiful wedding, beautiful service. It's wonderful. And then I go, "Hey, Al, come here." He's like, "What?" He goes, "I've been doing this all day long." And I show him a K2 meter, and he goes, "Don't let my wife see you. She'll kill you." So, yeah, that moment where you something's going on, or you get that feeling inside, it's fun. I mean, it really is fun to start investigating things. And what a great vehicle you have to actually talk about your investigations, ParaTruth Radio. So before we get crazy and going and leaving, it's almost time. Where could everybody find you, meet you, interact with you guys, and if they have any questions, start talking to you about it?
Yeah, you can reach us at paratruthradio.com. We have a contact page there, and we're on all the social medias. And hopefully, somewhere in the immediate future, we will start hitting some paranormal conferences, and we'll definitely be posting on when we'll be doing those if the Lord so chooses to grant us the ability to do so.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. I highly recommend them. And also, Justin, I know you have the book 1. Do you have book 2 out yet? Of your
Still
series?
working on it. Rough, very slow going for myself. I'm trying very hard to try and at least have the first draft done soon. Hopefully, I can get it published by the end of the year. So.
That would be great. I'm just going to throw a suggestion out for both of you, and I know you guys have busy schedules, but maybe you guys should throw out a book on, ParaTruth Radio's a couple of summaries, summing it up, almost like Weird Radio, which would be a good idea. Mm-hmm. This way, when you go to the conferences, there's something that you have there that you can, sign for the people as well. But it also, I think when you publish, it lends credibility. As an investigator and a researcher, there are plenty of people that are authors that I know of, and they say they're researchers and investigators, but they're not boots on the ground. And frankly, when you go to these conferences and you go on the haunted tour, that really isn't an investigation or a real research, in my opinion. It's more of a sideshow. But so I'm thinking it would be fantastic to actually get you guys out in the real field, like of conferences, because I think you would expand your base a lot more. It's always great when you meet real people versus hearing people on the radio.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there are a few things in the works where we're going to be doing a little co-writing and co-production, if you will. So that is probably a pretty good possibility somewhere in the future. So we are working on something for YouTube as well, not video per se, but something in the works for that as well, for a little creative work from us as well.
That's great. I mean, I remember when I first started putting out the cartoon graphics of myself and you and this stuff, and I got some really good feedback from you, Justin. And I think it's just, you got to find your way through this wonderful world of paranormal, and it's difficult. There's so many objects in the sea. I kind of get this image when I think of the paranormal and paranormal podcasts. I just see that, that big island of garbage in the ocean that's churning around, and I'm like, It's like, oh, well, this is a safe spot, or this is a good spot, and I think it's word of mouth. I'm begging all of you, please check out ParaTruth Radio, and not only do you check it out, I want you to share it with 5 of your friends. Let's use social media the proper way. Share it with 5 of your friends, like, dude, this is really cool. Check them out. It helps these guys grow. It helps us grow on NoBoBuMe. And if you really like something, that's what social media is for. It's not for just talking about whether there's a connection between the Russians and Donald Trump, and what stripper or hooker, slept with what other president. It's about sharing, interesting things with your friends, like as if you were talking to them.
Or the meal that you just ate, and then what it looks like after it comes out.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's. You know what? There probably is a podcast that's down the line, like a video podcast, the real poop. Whatever. But it's I can't thank you enough for both coming on NoBoBuMe. And for being there. It's a pleasure to actually meet you, Erik.
You too.
and he's not the elusive cryptid that we thought he was. He actually is real. I don't do his voice on air. No. It would be really hard for me to mimic that voice. So
because there's been way too many friends that had those imaginary Canadian girlfriends, and I was just like, Justin has a Canadian cousin. Right. So, but and I love the banter and the fact, and I got to be honest. When I met Justin many moons ago, and through mutual friends like Jim Mallett, who has a great show, and Cat Ward, who has a great show, and even Arizona Tramp. These are real people, and I actually consider them friends and part of the family. You guys are welcome back anytime to promote anything, even that poop podcast, if you so choose to go down that road. I will promote whatever you want to promote, because that's how I roll. It's my dad used to say this all the time. He says his grandmother used to tell him, "You get more from honey than lemons," and there's way too many lemons in this world. And I think if we start giving a little more honey, people, not only will we stick to each other and stick by each other, but life will be a better place. So
absolutely.
Yep. So as far as the future, I know Justin, you've been tapped on another radio program. And you want to mention that?
Yeah. You can find me on Beyond Reason, which is at beyondreason.net. It was actually a show that was started in 1987 on terrestrial radio. They eventually went to podcasting, and the one of the co-hosts and owners passed away, and eventually has landed in my hand. So I have been doing that for the past 2 months now. And it's going really well. And I hope to keep bringing it to fruition, both with ParaTruth Radio and Beyond Reason.
I think it's a great blessing, and you are perfect for the role there. And Erik, I know you're doing the Hollywood thing. So do you have other aspirations? Are you more so behind the camera, or do you ever want to go in front of the camera?
I used to get in front of the camera with some of the original stuff I used to write, so I'd like to get back there again. But mostly I'm behind the camera, usually writer, director. I did just release a short film, which you can see on our Facebook page. And then I'm currently actually just finished a feature film that I wrote, and I actually have a meeting with a couple of producers next month who are interested in financing that. So that's going to be a psychological thriller. So that'll be posted soon too. A little more information on that coming soon.
That's awesome. That's great. The option area. I know all about that. Break a leg. I don't take the other route. Break a leg, because it's that Hollywood thing. Guys, I thank you very much for being on. I think we're running out of time. I don't want to take too many people past their bedtime or their lunch hour, because I just promote when I promote. I don't have a standard network, nor do I want to be on a network. I'm on every place you can find podcasts. We're working on iHeartRadio too. So thank you again, Erik and Justin, for being on NoBoBuMe. You guys have a great night, and we will see everybody next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, this is Brian Bowden. I want to extend a deep thanks to Purple Planet. You guys rock. You're listening to NoBoBuMe, where we explore deep inside the Goblin Universe. The opinions expressed on NoBoBuMe are of that of the host and his guests.
Joining our impressive two-day 2018 conference lineup is our Red Line speaker, the former Deputy Base Commander of RAF Bentwaters, the man who went out to investigate a UFO sighting as a skeptic but returned as a believer. Making a welcome return to the UK specifically to talk at our 2018 conference, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt will be discussing the events surrounding the RFI, and also his claims that the US authorities were continuing to conduct investigations into the UFO phenomena, which have proven to be startlingly true and have recently been backed up by the announcements from film footage from the US, despite years of so-called official denial or of any interest in the subject. Do not miss what will be the must-see event of 2018. Ticket information can be found at www.chris0597.wixsite.com/outer-limits-mag. Join us on the 1st and 2nd of September 2018 at the Freedom Centre, 97 Preston Road, Kingston upon Hull. Come be informed.